Nigerians. Una the year waiting at the year. Our God president give speech. And the speech was so like everything is just straight. No comma, no stop, and no error. He gives speech telling Nigerians that it was ever been his own intention to remove the fuel subsidy. And the further goes to say that he has a good plan for Nigeria with huge of money. But there is something you are not telling Nigeria, that Nigerians, we are full of debits. This you are not saying. So I think you guys should see this video, listen to the reason why I'm talking this way. Because what goes around returns around though.
Increase its capacity to expand and create good paying jobs. We are going to spend 75 billion between July 2023 and March 2024. Our administration recognizes the importance of micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises and the informal sector as the drivers of growth. We are going to energize this important sector with 125 billion. Out of the sum, we will spend 50 billion conditional grant to 1 million nano businesses between now and March 24. Our target is to give a minimum of 50,000 each to 1,300 nano businesses owners in each of the 774 local governments across the country. Ultimately, this program will further drive financial inclusion by onboarding beneficiaries into the formal banking system. In like manner, we will fund 100,000 MSMEs and startups with 75 billion. I have ordered release of 200,000 metric tons of grains from strategic reserves to households across the 36 states and FCT to moderate prices. We are also providing 225,000 metric tons of fertilizer, seeding, and other inputs to farmers who are committed to our food security agenda. Our plan to support cultivation of 500,000 hectares of farmland and all year-round farming practice remain on course. To be specific, 200 billion out of the 500 billion approved by the National Assembly will be disbursed as follows. Our administration will invest 50 billion each to cultivate 150,000 hectares of rice and maize. 50 billion each will also be earmarked to cultivate 100,000 hectares of wheat and cassava. Part of our program is to roll out buses across state and local government for mass transit at a much more affordable rate. We have made provision to invest 100 billion between now and March 2024 to acquire minimum of 3,000 units of 20-seater CNG fuel buses. In the same vein, we are also working in a collaboration with the labor unions to introduce a new national minimum wage for workers. I want to tell you, our workers, that your salary review is coming.
Meanwhile, President Tinubu has approved measures to support tertiary students in Nigeria. They include
financial crisis between the various staff unions.
They include buses to ease transportation costs, although specific details on the number and release date of the buses are still unknown. All restrictions on students' loans have been lifted, making it available to any student or household in need. The president is also urging federal institutions to avoid arbitrary fee increases. The government says it is working on conditional cash transfers and food distribution to assist vulnerable students. The big news yesterday, and I believe even into this morning, Rufai, is the president's address, President Tinubu's address yesterday at 7 p.m. Your take on this?
Good one. When President Tinubu does good, I particularly will say it. Yesterday he did good because these are the things we've been talking of. We called for palliatives after the subsidy removal to be able to cushion the effects on the economy. And I know there are many schools of thoughts. There are a lot of classical economics thinkers, and there are those that follow the mindset of a man called John Maynard Keynes. And Keynes will always say, when you have times of crisis, you have to put money in the economy. When the New Deal happened in 33, 34 in America, some economists, people like the likes of Montague of this world, were against that theory of government pushing the economy with money and putting money in the economy. But some argued against it. And we saw how money, when the government put money in the economy in specific sectors, helped the economy to go through its challenges. What he has done, cumulatively the money is about 500 billion, thereabout. It's good for the economy. But the question is, it will buy time. But after the time it buys, then what becomes of the economy? And it will buy time, but it's also incumbent on the implementation. So all of this he has stated, if he doesn't implement properly, it's going to be problematic. But if he implements properly, it will buy him the much needed time. Some have said things like, oh, it's because Labour was going to go on their... Labour is still going to go on their protest, they've said this morning. But the truth is it good for the economy? Yes. Take, for instance, the CNG buses. What will be the implementation? I think for what it's worth, I beg, we must buy those CNG buses from Nigerian car producers to start with. Any case of trying to import some CNG buses from China or some other countries, you have defeated the purpose. Because this is also an attempt to be able to fix, I think, is it 100 billion they say for CNG buses?
Yes, 100.
Just imagine you fixing that into the automotive sector in Nigeria. People like Innocent Nord and the likes will employ more people. They will get more orders. Even if it's 200 or 100 orders or 300 orders you give Innocent and Nord, some more people will get to work. So please, we must fix that money in the economy. I think constantly here, we've talked on NOSEM as regards farming and bring about food security. I would have suggested that the remaining parts of the border they've not opened, let them open it. Because when you cultivate with this new cultivation plan, it will still take a time before the thing germinates. And I specifically talked about tubers. I talked about staple rice, tubers, and tomatoes and the likes. Also, you must also provide security, because you can't just give those farmers subventions without providing security on the farm. That's a structural problem. How quick can we do that?
All right.
Also, the targeted measures for the business, which is another good one. But hope is not going to be about your party members alone, or the businesses or the MSMEs of your party members. Yeah. If we can implement properly, then we can get it right and be able to buy time. But the next question will now be, after buying this time with this raft of economic measures, then what next for the economy? That's the question. But good one. Good on President Tinubu.
There are many ways to look at President Bola Tinubu's national address yesterday. There are people who say, yes, very good intervention to reassure the people. After all, the speech is titled, After Darkness Comes the Glorious Dawn. And it was promising the people that, look, he is committed to serving Nigerians and ensure the greatest good of the greatest number, which is a familiar phrase. He told us we will get the people out of this turbulence. He acknowledged the fact that Nigerians are making a huge sacrifice. They are going through a lot of burden, a lot of pains, but that he's committed to serving them. Another way to look at it is to say that this speech is a campaign after election. Many of the promises that he made during the election time, now he's campaigning again to Nigerians. And that's, something to look at. The fact that the government, yes, may have hit the ground running, but the government has seen that it is facing difficulties. The third point to look at is that
this national address came on the eve, more or less, of the plan of the organized labor to shut down the country and go on strike. As he was speaking yesterday, Labour was negotiating with the federal government. N1ger1s and Festus Osifo, leaders of NLC and TUC respectively, had to leave that meeting to go and listen to the broadcast. And they were saying, well, the meeting will continue today and maybe something miraculous would happen, but they will decide. But as far as they were concerned, they had called out all their branches nationwide, all their affiliates, to shut down Nigeria tomorrow, Wednesday. So another leg of it is to see how organized labor will react to that speech. So in a sense, therefore, number 4, will seem to be the president preempting organized labor and making sure that this country is not shut down. And also to assuage the fears of persons who are already attacking warehouses in Jalingo, Taraba State, in Yola, in Adamawa State, in Ibadan, Oyo State, and other parts of the country, because it looks like there is a brewing anger resulting from hunger among the people of Nigeria. These are the foundational issues to consider. Now let's look at the speech itself. Now, apart from giving Nigerians hope and reassuring them, the president rolled out a number of palliatives. 500 billion for manufacturers, for MSMEs, for smallholder farmers, and also in batches between 2023 and 2024 to ensure, that the pain being experienced by the people is minimized. The question to ask is that, yes, in terms of principle, in terms of projection, that is fine. But where is the money going to come from? Is that money inside the budget? Or is the president going to put forward a supplementary budget to accommodate that 500 billion naira? Where is that coming from? 2, in that same speech, he justified fuel subsidy removal. And the argument there is robust, saying that, look, we just have to do it because there is an elite that is collecting rent on top of everybody's head. And that has to stop because it represents corruption. So courage there, vision there, boldness there in terms of his submissions. Number 3, he more or less in a roundabout manner responded to the Economic Intelligence Unit, which had said that the CBN of Nigeria lacks the capacity to manage a floated currency, and that in any case, it's not working. And he made it clear that no, Nigeria is not going back to the old regime where there was a dual exchange rate. So that was a very direct frontal, response to the analysts who said it's not working. Okay. Number 4, he talked about education, student loans. He said that, look, students will be provided for because education is important to him. Almost an awoistic, Obafemi Awolowo kind of rhetoric. He said, look, 1, student loans will be made available as promised. 2, tertiary institutions were advised not to increase fees. Before now, Dele Alake, his advisor, had come forward to say the federal government did not say universities should increase fees, right? And he also said they will make buses available to these universities. Well, the taste of the pudding is in the eating. We would like to see how that will be operationalized. But more importantly, he made a point about states, collaboration with the states. And where that becomes important is when he talks about 150,000 hectares of land and all that. The federal government of Nigeria does not hold land in trust. Section 1 of the Land Use Act talks about state governments holding land in trust. Would that collaboration extend to a situation whereby states will make land available? And how do you support smallholder farmers? Persons who in Borno, in Plateau, in Benue cannot go to their farms because of challenges of insecurity. So there are dimensions to it, but he has made promises. Yes, it takes courage, it takes confidence to go to the people and say, I well, I don't want to use the word reassure you. And he himself avoided that word, which has become notorious in the ears of Nigerians. But he promised Nigerians that he would deliver.